What if writing a book is not just a way to transform the lives of many people, but also a way to create financial freedom and leave a legacy? Wouldn't you want to find out just how to do that? Well, that's what this show is all about.
Hi, I'm Hennika Watkis, Porter speaker, coach, author of Podcast Power, and the host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast, inviting you to listen to the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast, brought to you by Ruth Taylor, best-selling indie author and the Caribbean's most trusted voice on entrepreneurship. Tune in for inspiration, information, and innovation to write and win with books. Get ready to dominate entrepreneurship.
Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Taylor, and this is a show where we equip independent authors in the Caribbean and the diaspora with the strategies to win with books beyond book sales and dominate entrepreneurship. We want to ensure that fewer books die in the minds of their authors, more manuscripts become published legacies, and more published books are leveraged for maximum impact and income. Coming up in today's show is going to be an amazing interview with the author of the book, The Jamaican Diaspora. He is a former government minister in Jamaica. He was the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade from 2002 to 2007. And he initiated the Jamaica Diaspora conferences and a number of initiatives to do with the Jamaican diaspora. So, since the show is geared towards the Caribbean diaspora, I'm sure you want to stay tuned to find out more about this book and hear what former Senator Delano Franklyn has to say. If you listened to episode 1 last week, you know that for each show, we're going to be having a listener trivia and a chance for you to get a shout out. And so the question posed at the end of the first episode for the listener trivia was, who said it? And the quote was, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Now, the first 2 persons to answer this would get a shout out on the show. Now, because last week was episode 1 and we only launched the podcast on May 9, officially, most persons would not know that we actually had an episode 1. So what I did to ensure that we had some shout out for episode 2 was to post the question in my indie entrepreneurs group. And the first 2 persons who responded and got it correct are the persons I'm going to be shouting out today. And I think going forward, I'll take 1 response from the indie entrepreneurs group and 1 on YouTube. So we may have 3 listener shout outs rather than 2. Anyway, the winners are Susan Muir and Patricia Fletcher. Now, here's what Susan Muir says. She's a lecturer at UTech, that's University of Technology in Jamaica. She says, since research indicates that we are not certain, I would say unknown or credit it to Robert Orben. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Robert Orben is currently the leading candidate for the crafter of this maxim. However, very similar sayings using the same vocabulary have been circulating and evolving for more than 100 years. And she says the ascriptions to Ann Landers and Derek Buck are not supported because both have disclaimed credit. And she cited the investigator as her source. Now, Susan is an avid researcher. So we're going to go with what Susan says. So more than likely, it's Robert Orben. That means I have to go and correct some things in my book, Authorpreneur Secrets, because I attributed it to Derek Buck. And the second listener shout out goes to Patricia Fletcher. She is the author of an upcoming book, Hezekiah, which is a historical nonfiction. So thank you, Patricia, and thank you, Susan. Our next segment on the show is Ruth Authorpreneurship Ventures. I'm just going to update you a little bit about what's happening. So on the 9th of May, it was my birthday. That's yesterday. But for those who are listening in the future, stick with the date. We launched a book-based initiative. So we turned a book, Authorpreneur Secrets, into a podcast. We also launched my first audiobook, Pen It to Win It. We launched the audio, the print, and the ebook on May 9th. And with that, we also have some bulk buy options. When you go to my website, authorpreneursecrets.com/resource, you will be able to see what is happening there. Now, Pen It to Win, it really teaches you how to harness the power of a book and how to create multiple streams of income from a book and leave a financial legacy. So this is a book that is going to be like foundational to your entrepreneurship journey. And we have some amazing bulk buy options for persons who purchase 50 books and over, or if you order those, and once you go to authorpreneursecrets.com/resource, you will see the information there. And we have some amazing Brata delights. So those who don't understand Brata, in Jamaica, when we're giving extra, we call it Brata. So the Brata delights include you getting free spaces in my publishing course, Publishing Made Easy, as well as getting a writing deal that is to help somebody write a book. You may not want to actually physically write it. We have a guided writing program that will help you to do that. Also get an opportunity to win a publishing deal that is to take care of everything that is needed to get your book published on Amazon, equivalent of $1,500 to publish a small non-fiction book. So just go to authorpreneursecrets.com/resource and check that out. This year, we have a triple treasure deal where with Pen It to Win, you can get the ebook, the audio, and the print for just $50. And I'm selling direct via Teachable. And when you go to authorpreneursecrets.com, you'll be able to purchase it. And that is the Pen It to Win box set, where you're getting the 3 books, as well as you'll also get with it the companion course for free, which is Start Your Book Now. You get the Rocket Writer ebook for free, which will teach you how to write your nonfiction book in 24 hours. And you also get another book, Designed to Win Roadmap, the Youth and Millennial Edition, which is really a personal development and career guidance handbook to help our young people to thrive within 5 to 10 years after leaving high school. So that's it in terms of my latest authorpreneurship venture. Now, if you are doing some amazing things with your book or books and you'd like to share that on the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast, do go to authorpreneursecrets.com and send us a message at the contact page, and we'll let you know how we can promote that on the show. All right, so now it's time to get into the interview. And after the interview, we're going to have our short read segment and the listener trivia. So stay tuned. Former government minister and Senator Delano Franklyn. He's a practicing attorney at law, businessman, and author of 9 books, including The Jamaican Diaspora and Sprinting into History. Delano Franklyn is a former advisor to 2 prime ministers of Jamaica. As Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade from 2002 to 2007, he had responsibility for the Jamaica diaspora and spearheaded several initiatives to strengthen Jamaica's ties with the Jamaican diaspora. These include the biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference, the Diaspora Advisory Board, the Diaspora Foundation, the Jamaica Diaspora Institute, and the Diaspora Day, which is celebrated on June 16th each year. He is passionate about the Jamaica diaspora. He's an avid sportsman and, most importantly, a die-hard Kingston College old boy and an active
Indeed.
member of the People's National Party. And with that, everybody, let's welcome Mr. Delano Franklyn to the show. How are you, sir? Welcome.
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Ruth. Long introduction, but I can understand where you're coming from. The most important bit of that introduction, of course, being Kingston College.
Of course. And I wanted our audience in the diaspora to understand how significant the diaspora is to you. But before we start talking about the Jamaican diaspora, tell us a little bit about your writing journey. When did you start writing and what was that first book?
Well, people normally associate writing with books, but I've always associated writing with what you do from the very start of your educational journey. And from primary school right through to high school, I was one of those persons who believed that it was important to research, to know where you're coming from, to understand the country in which you live,
yes,
to understand the people of whom you are a part, and to understand how you will be able to navigate the journeys of life, recognizing that Jamaica is not an island unto itself. So that in and by itself influenced me being excited by historical material, being excited by current material. And as you do that, you try in your own way to also record what you write, or you try to interpret what you read, or you try to summarize what is it that you would read or research from time to time. And I suspect out of that came the enjoyment of writing. And it developed over a period of time where I figured that in order for me to be able to give my own views, give my own imprint, give my own record of things, that it is important for me, to the best of my ability, to put down on paper my own experiences in different events and in different activities. And it was out of that the book of which you speak and the other books came.
So in essence, you are writing to preserve history.
I'm writing to preserve history. That's a way of putting it. People generally, and Jamaicans specifically, tend to have very short memories. And I also remember my geography teacher in high school telling me, saying to us, that if you really want to hide something from a Jamaican, put it in a book.
Oh no.
So, yes, so I was caught between not writing because Jamaicans will not remember what you write, and also Jamaicans having a very short memory and wanting to write because you want to preserve history. And I said, let me opt for writing, because I do not believe that it is true that if you want to hide anything from Jamaicans, you put it in a book. Because I do know that there's a section of the population, growing section of the population, that would read and read consistently. However, people are not prone to read what is boring. People are not prone to read what they're not interested in. So you can't blame a person for not reading because he's not interested in a particular piece of material. Or you can't blame a person for not reading because he's bored if he's reading a particular area or a particular subject. But I've always felt that it is important for us to record the knowledge which we gain and the experience which we gain from our area of involvement. And I have done, most of the books which you would have read would have been as a result of my involvement, engagement in one way or another in those areas. So the book focusing on the diaspora and what Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica have been doing came largely as a result of my own involvement in that area, a responsibility which was given to me when I became a Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in the year 2002. So from the year 2002 through to the year 2007, I had ministerial responsibility for the Diasporic Community. And because of the importance of the diaspora, the Jamaican diaspora community, and because of the contribution of members of that community and what they have been doing since they have been outside of Jamaica, I figured it was very important for us not only to have something written as to what the Jamaican diaspora is about, but also to leave for persons who will come later an idea of the activities which took place during that period of time to try to shape the Jamaican diaspora into an organic organizational structure.
Awesome. I love it. So here within that preservation of history, but legacy and succession planning. So if I want to know, how do I set up a diaspora network? What has happened before to be able to build on that? Then this book, The Jamaican Diaspora, Building an Operational Framework, is a book to get. And you have taken the time to not only serve, but to document it. And I believe that is a good part of building a legacy. You know, they have a saying in Jamaica, when Maga plant one dead, it send up shoot. I believe.
Yeah, that one.
When banana trees are planting trees, you know, and we are from St. Mary's, so we can relate to that. So you're sending up shoots with these books, but tell us a little bit more about some of the content and what is it that people can find when they actually read this book.
All right, the book basically focuses on Jamaicans who are outside of Jamaica. But in doing that, it is important for us to also see how they interact with Jamaicans who are living in Jamaica. So the book encompasses looking at Jamaicans, yes, outside of Jamaica, but also Jamaicans who are living in Jamaica, because there is this interconnection.
Right.
The interconnection is driven by alumni associations, for example, assisting schools here in Jamaica, by alumni associations outside of Jamaica. It is work in the area of health. It is work in the area of community development. It is work in the area of finances. The remittances sent home by Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica has contributed significantly to holding this country together, to feeding many families, to keeping many persons in schools, to helping many with their hospital bills. Now, when I assumed the responsibility in 2002, being the first minister with responsibility for the Jamaican, specifically for the Jamaican diaspora community, the question was, how do we go about deepening the relationship with Jamaicans who are living outside of Jamaica? How do we bring about the conversation that we would like? How do we bring about the discussion that we would like? How do we get an idea of what Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica, what do they do in order to be able to contribute to Jamaica? What do we do to find out where Jamaicans are positioned in the Jamaican diaspora community? Because there are some Jamaicans who have been appointed to some very influential positions outside of Jamaica. What do we do in terms of second generation and third generation Jamaicans? Do they see Jamaica the very same way first generation see Jamaica? All of these things, the cross-cultural activities that take place, the cross-sport fertilization that takes place, all of these things are important. And the issue was, where do we start? And I figured at the time, along with those other persons who were there in the ministry, that we need to start by just having a basic, frank, open, candid conversation. So we invited quite a number of Jamaicans living abroad to Jamaica, people who were influencers in their respective field. And they came and we had a good chat at the University of the West Indies. And they said to us, listen, firstly, we don't want you down here in Jamaicans to be making policies on our behalf without involving us in the conversation. Secondly, I don't want you people down there to be only knocking at our doors when you figure you have a crisis down there and need money. When hurricane has affected the country, when we have a storm and it affected the country, you come knocking. No, we don't want you only to be coming. We want you to have a friend before you seek a friend. In effect, that is what they were saying. Thirdly, they were also saying we have been having significant heartbreak in trying to make contribution to Jamaica. whether by way of a hospital or by way of a school or we just have a lot of problems. We have problems with customs, we have problems with people who look about passport, we have problems with people who look about birth certificate, we have problems with, we have a trust factor also. We employ you lawyers, some of you lawyers down there, I don't know, run away with people, money, only give us a 6 or a 9. We have problems with engineers down there, we have problems with carpenters down there. In our own family, sometimes they would say to us, we put family in charge of building out a particular property, we send them money, and when we come, we just see a shell. So the distrust was very, very deep. The question was, how do we bring all of these things together? And out of that conversation which we had, we said, okay, what we will do is have a big, broad conference every 2 years. The book that you have there record the first 2 conferences. It record the planning of the conference. It record the invitation sent out to Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica. It record the discussions that took place in the conference. It record the decisions that took place in the conference. In other words, what we were trying to do was to build out an operational framework, hence the title of the book. It covers, during that period of time, literally every area of Jamaica's development and also diasporic development. So it looked at crime and what we are faced with in that particular area. It looked at the voting rights of Jamaicans and whether or not people living in the Jamaican diaspora community should be given the right to vote. It looked at trade between Jamaica and other countries and the Jamaican diaspora. It looked at economic contribution to Jamaica, specifically by way of remittances. It looked at our educational services and what is it that we are offering. Look at our health care facilities and what we are offering. Look at our community development. So the book covers a wide area of activities. But what is important is that it is Jamaicans who are telling their stories in the book. So it is not just a book where Delano Franklyn would have sat down and just write based on research about the Jamaican diaspora, about Jamaicans in Jamaica. It involved every person who participated in that conference, drawn from everywhere where you find a Jamaican living, to give his or her view of how they view this particular development. And it also included the resolutions which were passed and adopted at those conferences, because the resolutions now became decisions of the conference. And it looked at the implementation of those decisions in between conferences. And it also points the Jamaican diaspora community in their interaction with Jamaicans living at home in a particular direction of development. And finally, it also looked, albeit very briefly, but importantly, as to how other diaspora have developed over the years and what is it that they have done that Jamaica can emulate in order to strengthen this relationship. Hence that 400+ page book that you have in your hands.
Yes,
Madam Ruth Taylor.
yes, sir. It is a weighty book, but it's good. I like the fact that it captures our voices and our concerns, not just the author's concern. And even though it is 400 pages, I have read it. And I believe the discussion needs to continue. So how would you recommend people use this book? And then I'm going to get to that part, which is what this show is about. How are you leveraging that book? So let's deal with the first question. Just give us maybe 3 recommendations. How can persons use this book?
First of all, persons can use the book to understand what it means to be a Jamaican living outside of Jamaica. Secondly, the book can be used to get an understanding of what persons living outside of Jamaica are doing in relation to the development of the homeland Jamaica.
Yes.
And thirdly, and most importantly, persons can read the book to get an idea of what are some of the challenges faced by Jamaicans living in Jamaica, as well as challenges faced by persons living in the Jamaican diaspora.
Okay.
Of course, there are many other things to learn from the book, but in a nutshell, that is what you're talking about. It also gives, to
Excellent.
sign off on this, there are persons who hear the term diaspora and wonder, what the hell does that mean? That word, what it means.
True.
The book helps to explain the origin of the word,
Mm-hmm.
what it describes,
Yes.
and how it is important to persons who are living outside of their homeland. Prior to hearing about diaspora, just hear about Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica. There are persons who might wonder about the word diaspora, but in effect, it refers to people who live outside of their homeland territory.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have a coming together of those persons in whatever shape and form, you are referred to as a diasporic community. The book looks at Jamaica's diasporic community, wherever they may be found. The largest congregation of Jamaicans, of course, being in the United States,
Yes.
and you have large communities in different parts of the United States of America, and also the United Kingdom, and also Canada. But of course, you have large Jamaican diaspora community in sections of Africa, in the Caribbean, as well as parts of Central America. And I'm sure the mantra is everywhere you go in the world, you can find a Jamaica.
Absolutely. And this is very interesting. And we're almost out of time. The reality is that many persons are not reading as they should. And this show is about leveraging the book. What can we do to get the information that is in the book to others? I understand that you have a podcast coming up. How does this podcast tie in with this book? Talk to us. And what's the name of that podcast?
Well, the podcast will be focusing on the Jamaican diaspora community. It will be titled Linking with the Diaspora. And by linking with the diaspora, that is what it means. It means that we will be treating with the diaspora as equally as we treat a Jamaican living in Jamaica. Because anywhere that you are and you're a Jamaican, I see us as being separated only by water, but you are in fact on Jamaican territory and Jamaican soil. So the podcast is aimed at increasing the dialogue, increasing the discussion, allowing for opportunities, allowing for the opportunity of Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica to interact with myself, to speak about their life, to speak about their development, to speak about life in Jamaica, to speak about our life here and what we are doing, and to see how best we can continuously position those Jamaicans who are living outside of Jamaica within the life and the belly of the homeland Jamaica.
I love it. I love it. And Jamaica Diaspora Day is the 16th of June. Is that correct?
Yes, one of the decisions that was taken at that first conference was for us to identify a day which would be dedicated to Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica. And the reason why it was agreed that the 16th of June would be an appropriate day was that that was the day of the start of the first conference that was held. And yes, and it was agreed by acclamation and agreed to by the government of Jamaica by a proclamation by way of the Governor General that every year from there on, the 16th of June would be regarded as Jamaican Diaspora Day. And it is on that day, the 16th of June, 2021, when we will be launching the podcast of which I speak. And every week thereafter, we will be interacting with Jamaicans who are living outside of Jamaica so that they, along with us, can continue to advance the country of our birth, whether by being born there or being a citizen in other way of that country. How can we advance this small developing country which continuously punch above its weight and is now a big country in the eyes of many in the world?
Wonderful. I just want to thank you for the work that you've done. I know this is not the only book, but I believe that the work you are doing, you are being a legacy builder, and it's part of succession planning and to ensure that the key events in our nation will live on and that the next generation will have, and generations to come, something to build on. And so if listeners, you want to continue the dialogue, find out more about the Jamaica diaspora and how you can get involved, then we want you to tune into that upcoming podcast as of June 16th. And on the show, we will tell you more information about it. So, Mr. Franklyn, how can we get in touch with you if persons want to know more and find your book and all about you, or even your services as an attorney? How can we get in touch with you?
I was wondering when you were going to come to that. I can be reached by persons dropping me an email. Very easy. It's Delano Franklyn with a Y at gmail.com.
And you have a website, right? Your website
oh, yes, here's a website, wilsonfranklin.com.
Right. I think
Easy.
that is going to be an easy way. And again, thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. And we look forward to your upcoming podcast.
Thank you very much, Madam Ruth Taylor. It was a pleasure being on your program. All
You're
the best.
most welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I trust that you enjoyed that interview with author Delano Franklyn of the book, The Jamaican Diaspora, Building an Operational Framework. And don't forget to look out for his upcoming podcast on June 16, which is when we celebrate Jamaica Diaspora Day. That's linking with the diaspora. And get the book, The Jamaican Diaspora, and learn more about how you can build an operational framework so that we can tap into the tremendous resource we have in the Jamaican diaspora and see how we can partner for the betterment of our country and the diaspora. All right, so for a short read today, it comes from the book, The Jamaican Diaspora. I'm reading from the introduction. The Jamaican Diaspora, Building an Operational Framework by Delano Franklyn. The Jamaican motto, out of many one people, not only highlights the multiracial composition and roots of its population, it also gives legitimacy to the ubiquitous presence of its people, music, folklore, food, and culture in every nook and cranny of the world. The Jamaican presence, flavors, and influence are inescapable, and pleasantly so, because no matter where life leads Jamaicans, they never abandon the uniqueness of their culture or the warmth of their embrace. So staunch is the desire to identify with things Jamaican that copyright professionals face tough challenges protecting the authenticity of brand Jamaica. How else, for instance, can one explain the popularity of the Jamaican jerk phenomena? Nowadays, there are so many machinations of Jamaican jerk chicken, pork, and sauces that it's tough keeping count of the various private labels. Yet, it's not only our food that is the envy of the world, but our music, leticism, Rastafarian faith, and religious ethos have become magnetic forces for many throughout the world. Now, if you want to hear more or read more, you need to get the book, The Jamaican Diaspora, Building an Operational Framework by Delano Franklyn. And now for our listener trivia. Remember, the first 2 or 3 persons to answer this question, you're going to get a shout out on episode 3. And you don't want to miss episode 3. We're going to have Mr. Kindlepreneur himself, one of the most trusted voices in the industry, share with us some strategies and tools that will help us in the Caribbean and the diaspora to become successful in self-publishing. So we're going to be speaking with Dave Chesson next week, so don't miss it. Our trivia question is this: when was World Book and Copyright Day? in 2021? When was World Book and Copyright Day celebrated? That is our listener trivia for today. Looking forward to who will get a shout out on episode 3. Okay, that's it for today's show. Remember, you've been activated for greater. Go pen it to win it and dominate authorpreneurship. Ta for now, until next time.
I'm Tamara Francis, educator and editor. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share the podcast with your network. If you'd like to increase your impact and income with books, visit authorpreneursecrets.com for more resources, including the books Pen It to Win It and Authorpreneur Secrets. Join the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy membership group for courses, coaching, and community support to write, publish, and win with books. Enrollment is in January and June each year. You may also sign up for one of Ruth's Publishing Made Easy courses or private coaching to write and publish your next book. Until next time, go pen it to win it.